Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts.
Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you.
Whew. Mother's Day feels like love, doesn't it? Just acknowledging that beautiful love. A little boy was talking to his dad. He was about 10 years old. He said, "Dad, what does it mean to be a real man?" And his dad recognized the importance of this moment. He said, "Well, son, it means that you protect your family. You work hard to provide for them. You put their needs ahead of yours. You're there for them, and you take responsibility for the people around you." The little boy looked at him and said, "Wow, when I grow up, I want to be a man just like Mom." So guys, don't be offended. What that's pointing us to is it's just, that role of being the protector and the provider, that's no longer just Dad, right? That Mom does that too. And the role of being the nurturer and the carer, that's not just Mom. Dad does that too. I don't know about you, but I really was blessed, and I had a dad who was not afraid to cry in front of his sons and to hug us and kiss us. And I had a mom who was not afraid to be strong and stern when she needed to be. So I saw that. And in the new generations, like my nephews particularly, I noticed that even those duties that my parents still divided along those traditional gender lines, they don't. My nephew is up. They alternate nights when they have a new baby. Like he's up one night, she's up the next night. It's really beautiful to see that. And what I'm speaking about today is the talk title is The Divine Mother, the Source of Our Wholeness. I want to point us to this idea that there is a divine masculine energy and a divine feminine energy. And it's not the same thing as human gender. That these qualities of the divine masculine energy and divine feminine energy are available to all of us. They live in all of us. And that if we can learn to work with that feminine energy of God, it's a healing agency in our lives and on the planet. This is part 2 of our 4-part series on healing and wholeness. And the title today is The Divine Mother, the Source of Our Wholeness. And just a brief recap, no, I hope not that, recap from last week. It was really good, trust me. That I talked about consciousness is cause. The way we take it up in Unity is that there is a power in our thought, and when we know the truth, we demonstrate the truth. That we manifest what is known in mind. And so when people know the goodness of God, they demonstrate the goodness of God. And when they know poverty and illness and limitation and scarcity, that's in the consciousness, that's what they demonstrate. Them, not any of you all. I'm sure you're all spiritual masters. But this is the way it works, that if we want to have healing in our lives, for a spiritual-based healing, we begin with consciousness, thought, awareness. This is how we begin to move the conditions of our lives into a greater alignment with our truth. And I remember the first time I heard somebody say in a New Thought church, if you want to know what you're thinking, look at your life. I did not like it. I did not want to take responsibility for my own experience, but I later learned that was actually the key to my freedom. That I created the mess, but I could also uncreate the mess and demonstrate and manifest healing, abundance, well-being, connection, love, peace, all of those qualities of God. When we know it, we live it. So healing for us is an interesting word. From the human perspective, we see that we were ill and now we're healed, or we were poor and now we're healed, all those things. But from a true spiritual place, what we're actually saying is that I am whole and that it's revealed through time. And so when I say that the Divine Mother, the source of all healing, I'm really talking about awareness. Our consciousness is key. It is what causes the healing. When we know wholeness, we demonstrate it. My friend, Reverend Karen Russo, she's been here a couple of times to speak to us on Sundays, and she offered her workshop a couple times, and she uses these energies in her book is called The Money Keys, and it's about healing our financial life, and she uses both the masculine and feminine energy of God as a way of accessing our healing. And she says this: the divine masculine is about choice, intention, and action. Can you see how I'm doing this with my hand automatically? It's about moving out into the world. Intention, choice, action. It's how we show up, what we're doing. But the divine feminine is about awareness, gratitude, and the ability to experience satisfaction. I even automatically do it with my hands. It's like this. The divine masculine is moving forward. The divine feminine is this spacious quality of consciousness. And what we know is what we demonstrate. So, how does this work in our lives? When we created our purpose and value statements last year, I think it began to define a little bit more about who we are as a community, the way we want to show up. And I was looking at those the other day, and I realized that two of our values, for me, really embody this masculine-feminine quality of God. So let's read those together. If you can bring those up on the screen. We'll start with our purpose statement. There it is together. In community, we nurture and empower each other, transforming our lives that we may serve the world. This is why we exist. And then there are three values that grew out of this. These are the things that we value. This is what we want to be showing up as. So values, first, being. We live from our oneness with God and each other, experiencing abundance and connection with all life. And becoming, through spiritual practice and through grace, we heal and grow, revealing the Christ within. And finally, belonging. We create a spiritual home for all people, knowing that we are one body and that we belong to each other. We gave out these beautiful cards with this last fall, but if you didn't get one, if you'd like to have one now, just raise your hand. The ushers will bring a card to you if you'd like to have these purpose and values statements. Just keep your hand raised while the ushers are bringing those to you. It's a great reminder of who we are and how we want to show up in the world. And particularly around being and becoming, we didn't intend for them to be representative or descriptive of the spiritual masculine or the spiritual feminine, but that's really how they show up. That being, we live from our oneness with God and each other, experiencing abundance and connection. And that is a healing way of being. And how our becoming is the way we then begin to shift, to grow, to evolve, to move. We've had some incredible teachers just kind of arising here in our community. Last year, Sarah Eliason, who's a very respected interior designer, who also has a deep spiritual understanding of space and form, she taught us for about 5 months in the Pyramid on Mondays how to bring this idea of spiritual qualities into spaces. And one of the things she did is that she invited Reverend Karen and me on a field trip down to Menil Park near the Menil Museum. And as we got down there, she wouldn't tell us where we were going. I just said, this is one of my favorite places in the city of Houston. It always has been. It's just something about it is so nurturing and inviting. She said, I know it's your favorite place, and I'll tell you, you probably don't know why. I'm going to tell you why. She said, this is one of the few feminine spaces in the city of Houston. And she began to teach what that meant, that the scale of the buildings were not these giant skyscrapers. They were in alignment with the trees. There was a lot of green space around all the buildings. There was just this beautiful, inviting and nurturing energy. And she's like, wouldn't you like to have some of this at Unity? And we're like, we would. So we want to have that. It was a beautiful teaching. This past week, I got to go to lunch and have coffee with Amanda Toulos, and she... I'm not going to embarrass you by making you stand, but she really, she teaches sustainability. Her company shows organizations how to live sustainably on planet Earth. And I was just taking notes because she had so much wisdom around this idea of how we can live the feminine on Earth. And she says this: our language is not experiential enough. The very words we use, it's about doing and not being. It's about accomplishing. Well, when this happens, then. And that's the way we live so much of the time, that we don't even experience the now because we're always pushing to achieve and accomplish something. And yet instead, she says, if we can value experience over outcomes, people are validated. And wouldn't that be a beautiful way to live in the present, creating experiences of connection? That's really what it's about. So this Mother's Day, I'm inviting us to work with the divine feminine in a way of bringing us more present. And I want to say, too, that some of the younger people think that we're just trying to keep the binary going, the divine masculine, the divine feminine. These are not gender, again. These are really about spiritual energies, and it's ancient teaching. In the East, it's often depicted as the yin and the yang. And this is it's just a wonderful way. It's all one power, one source, but we can understand it and move with it differently. How many of you grew up with a God that was male? Look around. Most of us did. If we grew up in the West, more than likely we grew up with the Father God. In Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, it is mostly a male deity. What I want to remind you, and I take at least more than once a year, Mother's Day for sure, Father's Day, I take it as an opportunity to remind you that any name, any idea, any concept of God we have is partial. It's part of the truth, but it's not the whole truth. Here's how I know that. Because God is infinite, and you ain't. in your current understanding, in a way that you could express in language and ideas, you're never going to be able to capture God. In the story of Moses, when Moses said, "Let me look upon your face," and God said, "You can't handle it." And put him in the cleft of the rock and covered it, and this is such a beautiful teaching, I wasn't planning on sharing it, but it said that God placed his hand on the cleft of the rock, and he said, "I will let you see my hind parts when I walk by." It's a beautiful story to illustrate that we can only see where God has been. We can't understand or comprehend the totality of the infinite. Do you get it? And so I'm going to push you a little bit, particularly if you're new to metaphysics or new to New Thought, if you're fresh out of more traditional spiritual tradition, this may be challenging to think of God as not only male, that it might feel a little strange. It did to me. And the first time I heard somebody say, "Father, Mother, God," I was like, what have I gotten myself into now? But I've come to understand that discomfort opened me up to a greater reality. And that's the point of this. It may well be that the healing you needs a bigger God than the one you came in here with. And so if you can sit with your discomfort at the idea that perhaps there is a divine feminine as well as a divine masculine, it might be just the energy you need to open yourself up to a greater experience. And I also want to say, I'm not wanting to take away your relationship with God. It's very personal. And it will continue to be. What I hope to do is challenge you and invite you into deepening it and expanding it, to know that God is more than you've been able to so far comprehend. Emily Cady, one of our founding writers and teachers in this movement, she wrote a series of articles for Unity magazine in the 1890s, and they were later placed into book form. They called them Lessons in Truth. And here's what she said: "God then is not, as many of us have been taught to believe, a big personage or a man residing somewhere in a beautiful region in the sky called heaven, where good people go when they die and see him clothed in ineffable glory. Nor is he a stern, angry judge only awaiting opportunity somewhere to punish bad people who have failed to live a perfect life here. God is spirit, or the creative energy that is the cause of all visible things. God, as spirit, is the invisible life and intelligence underlying all physical things. There could be no body or visible part to anything unless there were first spirit as creative cause." If we can begin to expand our awareness of just how good God is, just how powerful God is, just how willing the energy of life itself is to nurture and grow and heal, I think we would begin to experience greater love for God, greater love from God. And I also want you to know that this is in your traditional teachings, you just probably weren't taught it. I'll go ahead and share these with you. In Isaiah 66:13, "As a mother comforts her child, so I will comfort you. You shall be comforted in Jerusalem." These are words attributed to God speaking, that mother comfort. Hosea 13:8. Like a bear robbed of her cubs, I will attack them and tear them asunder. Any of y'all know some mama bear energy around here? You see, the divine feminine is not just all lilacs and lilies. I mean, there's a fierceness in it too. But the divine feminine energy is not about going out and conquering somebody else. It's about protecting what is good, making a space for expansion and healing and wholeness. And that's what the divine mother is for us. And our consciousness sometimes needs that mama bear energy, because I'm telling you, you're trying to stake a claim in truth for your wholeness. You will get opportunities to see where that is not true for you. Have you noticed this? That when you make a claim for a change, or you make a claim, you begin to do your spiritual work, you begin to affirm something, everything that is unlike that will show up in your face. And this is a time you need that she-bear energy to go, I'm standing in what I know to be true. I'm standing in who God tells me I am. That is a feminine quality. So what's it really about? It's about how we can move with the power of God with and the power of God for, not power against or power over. I have a demonstration, and it's a musical one. I hope you will let me do this for you. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. I think I need a little help with this. Fellas, can you come help me out? You start it, boys. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I once was lost, but now I am found. Was blind, but now I see. That was meant to be a teaching example. That's the difference between melody and harmony. Three voices singing different notes, and yet it is made richer and deeper and more beautiful. There is a cooperative energy in the Sacred Mother. This morning, 5 a.m., that Sacred Fount of Wisdom Facebook delivered this to me, so you get to hear it. It's actually, somebody had reposted from Twitter from Scott Budman. Went to synagogue yesterday for a friend's daughter's bat mitzvah. Arrived and saw 5 people holding signs by the door. I thought, protesters? No, Muslims. The signs read, "We're better together. We'll keep watch while you pray." The sacred feminine energy of God seeks to harmonize. Amanda and I were talking about this. There was a time on this planet as our species was evolving that we did live in harmony with the earth. That we did, and we've lost that sense. We've spent so much energy in acquiring and attaining and achieving that we have felt like the earth is just a dead thing, right? And we've taken it for what we want, regardless of what the future needs might be. What is needed on the planet now is that harmonizing energy of the Great Mother. And she's showing up right here at Unity. A few weeks ago, we put a call out. We wanted to create an earth care team, help us, guide us, how we could be more environmentally aware, more sustainable. And I said that we'd like to have maybe 4 or 5 people to be on our leadership team. We're looking for people that had 3 things: expertise, the time, and passion for it. 33 people came forward in this church and said, I want to be a part of that. And that's just the leadership. Healing the Heart of America, Reverend Karen and Cindy Wigglesworth have been, now we started it 3 years ago. We have been started with some of the violence we were seeing around racial things in our country. We said, we want to be better. We want to see how we can be part of the healing. That's the Great Mother, saying we want to harmonize. Each of us taking responsibility, each of us bringing our part strongly, bringing what we're seeing, bringing the passion that is in our heart for this healing to occur. And I don't know what your part in the great healing work is, but I know you have one. And this work is not about you getting more and achieving more so everybody can see how great you are. That time is done. What is being asked for now is a great coming together. Our egos are laid aside. We open our hearts. We break our hearts open in front of each other. And we sing the amazing grace of God. I am so optimistic about what's happening in this planet and what's happening right here in this church. Thank you. If no one has told you today that they love you, I love you. I love you. God bless you.
Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.